Good morning, and welcome to Vigilant Broadcasting. The station opportunity presents Underneath the Hat with your host, author Sherri Simmons, as she discusses topics to help us all take care of ourselves underneath the hat.
Good morning, and welcome to Underneath the Hat, an affiliate of Vigilant Broadcasting and the Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. My name is Sherri Simmons, your host, and today's topic, we will be discussing forgiveness with our guest, Aisha Hurston. If you are on Facebook and you would like to chime in, tune in, you can find us on Talk Radio TV Network, LLP. You can also go to my website, Underneath the Hat, and click the link and tune in with us live. If you would like to call in and discuss the topic of forgiveness, you can call us at 319-527-2634. I am so excited because today we get to discuss forgiveness and the impact that it has on our lives. And I decided to ask Aisha Hurston to join us today because she has such a powerful story of forgiveness that a lot of people might have an issue with forgiving, but she was able to do it and be blessed in the process. So let me share a little bit about Aisha before she joins us. Aisha is a mother, daughter, sister, friend, and overcomer. In 2018, she celebrated 30 years of surviving childhood sexual abuse by starting a video blog entitled Whole is Possible and releasing her autobiography, Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a 4-part release that recounts her life journey and the distinct characteristics that victims possess and display. Aisha leans upon her faith for all things and accredits God for saving her life and changing her mind and heart. She is a trained attorney and entrepreneur and spends her time working hard and laughing loudly. So I would like to introduce our Underneath the Hat family to Miss Aisha Hurston. Aisha, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Good morning. How are you?
My voice. Listen, honey, the devil is busy, but he is defeated, okay?
Yes, he is. How are you doing this morning besides just overcoming and dealing with the flu?
I'm doing well. God is good. I have no complaints. How are you?
I'm good. So let's jump right in because I love your story and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to hear it. So I mentioned in your bio that the title of your series, your book series, is Metamorphosis. How has forgiveness played a part to your metamorphosis?
Forgiveness is an interesting thing because I think the assumption that most people have is that it's a one-time occurrence. And what I've found in my metamorphosis is that forgiveness is an everyday thing for me. I have to forgive the same people over and over and over again, and sometimes for the same thing. And so when it came to my life and my life journey, specifically regarding my parents, I realized that I had to go into a very deliberate process regarding forgiveness. And then that opened the door to helping me see and God allowing me to see other areas of forgiveness that I needed to work in. For example, I had to not only forgive my parents, I had to forgive God. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive all of the other adults around me. I had to forgive my friends. Just, maturity walked me through that, and wisdom has helped me continue it.
So let's share your story with everyone so they can understand how you even got to the point where you had to write this series on metamorphosis. Can you shed some light on what actually happened and led you to where you are now?
Sure. So my background with my family is that my parents had me when we were teenagers. My mother was pregnant with me at 13. She had me when she was 14, and my dad was 17. I always say that because I think we need to have a clear perspective on our parents as people. And I can't imagine in the 70s, my mother who was a very pretty young lady, still is a very beautiful woman, walking around being pregnant and then going to eighth grade, through her eighth grade year being pregnant with me. It just kind of boggles my mind right. At this point in life. But yeah, so because she was so young, when she delivered me, she still lived at home with her mother and her some of her siblings. My mother is one of 8 children. She's the oldest girl. I was born into a household of extreme dysfunction, but my presence as a baby, I've been told that really just brought some light into the household, especially with my grandmother, who was one of my favorite people on earth up until the day she passed away. A little violent, as in 4'10", 4'11", violent drinking woman who, came from the South, born and bred in the Atlanta area, and did not have the mothering that she needed to prepare her to be a mother of 8 children. Domestic violence ran rampant through my family's history, and all of that built me up to becoming susceptible to things that many people overlooked. For example, my dad, whom I still love dearly, was young and a product of a lot of violence. He was a violent man, but everybody, respected him. He was one of the man in the neighborhood, right, smooth and stepping down. At a young age, he's still smooth like that. I told him the other day, like, you just really think he's slick, but you're not, But, right. Just really, when it came to my abuse, I was 6 and a half when my grooming started. I tell this story in the book that I was looking out of the window. I was in the house for some reason. I never really liked being outside as a kid, but I was in the house for some reason. I was looking out the window, and there were children from my building playing outside. We lived 2 doors down from my grandmother's house, so it was kind of a safety net on that block for me. And there was a teenage boy. I was an infant, and there was a teenage boy out there, and I just thought he was the finest thing in the world. And I don't know why I thought he was so fine. At 6, why would you think somebody is fine? But I did. I still remember how he looked to this day. And my father saw me see him. And one of the things about my father, though I knew he had a reputation in the streets, I never seen my father angry at his children. Never. He never showed, even when he disciplined us, he never showed anger. He would talk to us and tell us that this was a lesson. What we did, we made sure we understood that was against the house rules, and this is why we were being disciplined. But it was just never anger. I just never felt anger from my dad when I was young. And when he saw that, there was a flicker in his eye, and he didn't say a word to me, but I knew something was wrong and something had shifted. So later in the evening, he came back. He began to ask me questions about what would I do in certain situations with boys. What would I do if a boy tried to kiss me or hug me or put his hands on me or touch me or anything like that. And then he began to show me the strength of a boy by pinning me down on the bed and making me very uncomfortable and crying and, telling me, men are always in control. They're always stronger than you. You always have to give them what they want. And these are things that he started to tell me on a regular basis. So it progressed. It went from that level of grooming to more intimate ways of grooming. Fondling started to happen when I was 7. And then by the time I was 7 and a half, almost 8, full-blown sex. Oral sex and physical vaginal sex that my father was having with me on a regular basis. And I think at some point, I talk about this, how God uses our minds to save our lives. At some point, I developed a protective measure in my psyche. I call her Nikki because that's my family nickname for me. That really bore the brunt of the thoughts and the fear and the terror that I had when it came to my father during my abusive moments. I was always terrified, always. I walked around scared for everything. I had irrational fears regarding everything just because of what my father did to me. And so my abuse progressed and lasted until I was 11. When I turned 11, I randomly told, in the middle of that, one of my aunts also abused me. I talk about her in the book. But when I turned 11, I told that aunt, who was not much older than me, that my father had been abusing me. She dragged me upstairs to her sister, who was the middle girl. I call her protective aunt in the book, to tell my protective aunt, because she was that. She was protective of her nieces and nephews. There are a ton of us, almost 80, I think, at this point, cousins that I have. Yeah, it's a million. But she was always very sober and very different from the dysfunction that we suffered or witnessed at the hands of my uncles. And she's just very different. She's always has been. And she was protective of me. And I think it was just mainly because I grew up in the house with her. They made me sit in their bedroom while they went and told my grandmother, who I was her baby, and she, my people, they're not, I got people from the hood for real. Right. Their reaction is not supposedly. Yes, we got it. It's the reaction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so there was probably a 3 or 4 day period, if I remember it all. When you're an abuse victim, you have a lot of blank spots in your memory. But there was probably a 3 or 4 day period where I just remember people coming in, and that people from out of town coming in and out of town. In from out of town, just a bunch of men in my family, cousins and uncles that were coming, in from out of town. And I remember not seeing my mother and looking for her, even though I didn't trust her, because we did have one experience where my mother walked in on my father abusing me and blamed it on her sleepiness, that she didn't realize what was going on. And that was early on in my abuse, which I think gave him the okay to continue. But my mother loved my father. He in her mind, he saved her from a life of abuse. And protected her, and so when you have all these elements that are converging upon a household and a family and a generation, these are the things that can be produced from it. So eventually, my mother didn't let them kill my father. She got the police and he served some time in jail. But, as I went through all of the therapy possible, group therapy and all of it, so much therapy, group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, sibling therapy, just all of the therapy possible. Yeah. At the same time, my grandmother moved out of town, so I lost my safety net. I didn't trust my mother, and she was losing her mind because she didn't know what to do. She was very young. She didn't know what to do. She had 3 children at that point. And, I can only imagine what she was suffering through at that time. So, unfortunately, she took my father back. So we started visiting him in prison. And that was really, really difficult for me. I hated every bit of it. It still kind of makes me sick on my stomach when I think about it, because a lot of my memories are attached to smell. I can smell the prison. I can still smell the Greyhound bus and stuff like that. But when I was playing one day, it was the summer before freshman year, so I was 14. I was playing at my girlfriend's house. In the summer, happy day. I crossed the lot to come home. I walked in the door and my father was sitting on my couch. I had no clue that he was coming home. Yeah, I had no clue that he was coming home. Nobody had said anything. He was sitting there with his best friend, who was like my uncle. They've been best friends forever. And everybody was just happy, joking and laughing. And I felt like I had stepped into the Twilight Zone. My mother was cooking chicken and singing in the kitchen. And it was just very surreal to me, because I remember having a feeling. I've only felt that feeling twice in my life, but that was the first time where it literally felt like everything good in me flew out of me. Like it felt like birds or butterflies, like tickling my body, and like it was leaving me. And so I remember turning around and looking out of the window of the door, like I could almost see it leave. So, therapy doesn't prepare you to live in the same house as your abuser. They don't talk about that. They assume he's never coming back. You'll never be in his presence. I didn't know how to feel.
And I was going to ask you why you chose the title Metamorphosis, and now I understand with the way you felt about it, why you chose Metamorphosis and the connection to butterflies. Yeah. So you mentioned him. Yeah, go ahead.
I always think, when I look at my life in retrospect, a butterfly has always been interwoven in the theme of my life. I've always been aware of major changes, even sometimes a lot of minor changes that happen in my life. And it's very similar to a butterfly or a caterpillar molting.
when they shed their skin because it doesn't fit anymore. And so sometimes that moat is healthy, or it becomes healthy, but at the same time, it's one of the most vulnerable positions a caterpillar can be in because it's brand new skin. So that's why I align my life to a butterfly. Now, with your mom, you mentioned your mom, and I know I just recently got to the point where I could finally forgive my mother for some of the things that she had done to me, or I felt that she had done, but we never had a conversation until recently. And so, as a young girl who we as girls idolize our mom, they're the example of what we should be when we become a woman. How did you go about forgiving your mom, given that she knew what was going on, actually walked in on it as it was happening, and then brought your father back in to be around you, knowing what he had done?
You know, it's interesting. I didn't even see my mother as the problem, as a part of the problem until I was probably 35 years old, and I'm now 42.
Okay.
In my mind, and because I was told this as well, and it was perpetuated throughout our family, my mother and I were co-victims of my father. He did this to us. All bad things that happened in my life were attributed to my father. And so I never even considered that I needed to forgive my mom because she was a victim too. You know, it's kind of like sisters in arms. Until one day, it was like, you know, Michael Jackson Thriller video when you turn around and look over your shoulder when the camera pans and it's like, wait a minute. Right? Yeah. Don't make me laugh. You do not sit on the same side of the table as me. You sit on the same side of the table as him because you are a parent. You are my parent. And so I was mad for a long time, about a year. I was pissed. I was cussing. I was mad because that was the first time that I even considered that she had any kind of responsibility, period, whether it be good or bad, but any kind of responsibility in how abuse was in my life. And then, you know, when he came home, I just hated her. I didn't, you know, because I told her, he raped me twice when he came back home. And when I told her, it was right before she had a stroke. My mother had a mild stroke. But so the timeline was he raped me twice. I told her about it. She told me I was a liar. She didn't believe me. I think a couple of weeks later, she had a stroke. And then they finally broke up permanently. But when she told me she didn't believe me, it didn't even make me look at her then as if she was a part of the problem. It just made me feel like, how dare you? You know, I just felt like, I have way too much to process in my life to this point. So you're just my enemy. We don't have to think it through. You just have become my enemy. I just don't trust you. I don't trust you with nothing. I don't believe anything you say. The fact that you would believe this man didn't do what he has been, it has been proven. He has gone to jail. He pled guilty because he knew he did it. All the doctors told you, know, and that kind of thing. And so I just kind of shut her out of my life. I didn't want to talk to her. I don't remember really having many conversations with my mother for years. I mean, you know, I know we did because I was in her house, but I just hated her. I just didn't want to deal with her at all. And I didn't want to deal with her role in it. I just kept attributing everything to my dad. So when I was about 35, I had started going through a very, you know, abuse is interesting, you know, or any kind of trauma. It'll lay low for a long time. But after a while, it will start bubbling to the surface because it just really permeates every area of your life, especially how you think. It frames every part of you. And so that was around the time I had joined a new church, and it was heavy in deliverance and prophetic. I was in a domestic violence, my second marriage. I was in a very heavily domestic violence relationship. I finally got out. And that's when everything came out. Like, I just had to deal with it. I couldn't do it anymore. I was killing myself, not dealing with it. And one of the major parts that came out was my mother and her role in it and how I felt about that. You know, I had dealt with my dad, part of it, for 30 years at that point, but I never looked at my mother. And so I had to come to grips with that. And the only thing I could do was pray. The other thing that happened was God really allowed me to start seeing my mother as a person and not just my mother. And I think we do that a lot. You know, we attribute our parents' roles in our lives without considering that they were a human, that they are a human, that things happened to them before they were our mother. You know, that they have life and life choices and, you know, all of that. Before she became my mama, she had a whole history of things that made her hurt. And then after she became my mama, she tried to do the best that she could, but it didn't work out in a way to benefit me. And so it was only through God that I had the strength, and I still lean on that every day because I still have days where I'm like, girl, you crazy. What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Yes. But I'm serious, you know, because you just don't understand it. But I learned that it cannot be understood. It's a work of the enemy. It can't be understood because it's just not right. It's not the will of God. It's not right. It's nothing but from the pit of hell. And so I work daily if I need to. It's not all of the time, but I give her forgiveness daily. I give her compassion daily. And I give it to my dad too because I talk to my dad regularly.
So I want to stop here and let you catch your breath a little bit. So then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to dive back into your relationship with God and how that has helped you with making it to the level you have of forgiveness. So underneath the hat, we'll be right back with our guest, Aisha Hurston.
Welcome back to Underneath the Hat with your host, author Sherri Simmons.
Hello, and welcome back to Underneath the Hat. I'm your host, Sherri Simmons. We are an affiliate of Vigilant Broadcasting and the Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Thanks to those who are already tuning in on our Facebook page at Talk Radio TV Network, LLP. If you want to call in and ask a question of our guest, Aisha Hurston, about forgiveness, or just tell us your experiences with it, you can call in at 319-527-2634. So, Aisha, welcome.
Thank you.
So, when we left off, you were talking about how we want to continue with how you got to the level of forgiveness, especially with your relationship with God. So, what part did your relationship with Him play and you get into where you are now?
You know, I've been in church my whole life, right? And I think my godfather is a bishop, and I tell him all the time, Daddy, I just got saved. Just like you just said that a week ago. I mean, I feel like I did. Because I sat in church, you know, I sang in the choir, and, you know, I was very prevalent in our church and in full gospel, which we're a part of the network because of my dad, my godfather. And it had not permeated me. God had not, he just wasn't real to me in the way that I needed him to be, and in the way that he desired to be in my life. And I knew maybe after I had my third son, when I had been active for so long and had all these roles and responsibilities at church, and it just didn't seem real. It just didn't seem real. So I got into a very, very dark place when I got a divorce from my first husband and then married very quickly and mistakenly. My second husband, who was extremely abusive. I had never been in a domestic violence relationship before. I just really felt like, how did I get here? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is not my life. I was in a severe depression, and when I finally left him permanently, the first thing I did was someone had invited me to this church, and I couldn't go back to my godfather's church. I felt so much shame and disappointment regarding church. I just felt like somebody should save me. Somebody should pull me out of this. People, say that they love me and are concerned about me, but somebody do something, because I'm not in control of my life. That's how I felt. I'm not in control. Like, too much has happened. I can't run. I don't know what to do at this point. So it was in a very, very, very dark place. And so people would ask me, I was living in Champaign at the time, people would ask me what church to go to in Chicago. And I would send them to a particular church that I had never visited before. I just heard about it. And the people that I heard about it from, I trusted their opinion. And so I went to that church. When I came back in town, I moved back to Chicago from Champaign. I visited that church, and the first time I visited, the pastor called me up to prophesy over me. And I knew at that point, though, he was spot on, of course. It was a very accurate prophecy. But I knew at that point that if I did not stop looking for other people to help me, and if I did not make God who he said he is in my life, if I did not open that door, then I would die. I knew it. I knew, like, literally die. Not figuratively, not suffer, but that I would literally die. I couldn't take anymore. I couldn't carry any more burden or hurt or pain or dysfunction. I couldn't anymore. And I used my children as a crutch to help me stay alive. I was accomplished. I had all the degrees and, all of the career and all of that, but nothing was what it was really supposed to be. I couldn't enjoy any of it. I was hiding myself, and I was full of shame and just riddled with guilt and hurt. And I just was like, hey, help, you, God, hey, you, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and wisdom. I need all of y'all to team up and come in this direction. And from that day, I started to experience a deliverance process that made God more real to me than any other time ever. And it's just grown from there. And so I made Jesus my best friend. I made wisdom my sister. I made God my father. I stopped searching for fatherhood by really pouring every bit of me out. I pray a lot. And I really discuss things with him. It's a conversation with him. And so there are times when I pray that I get rid of all the dirt too. Dumb, but I did it. And I want to know why I did it. Why I do that? Like, what's the root of that? Am I just being trifling today, or am I just tired today, or have I not read my word enough? Why is it not permeating my heart? Just really talking about the murk and muck of me. And then that uncovering and unveiling has given me so much freedom, because I am accepted by God, regardless of who I am. It also gave me the freedom to change and align myself with his word and see the benefits thereof. That's why I stay saved. I see the benefits of salvation. I see them. Yeah. And that's also why I've been able to live my life in a way where I know forgiveness for myself and others. You know, when you have been abused, your mind is so broken, you just make all the bad decisions. Every decision you make is a bad decision, pretty much. And I had to forgive myself of that and not care about the blame. I don't care about blame anymore. I don't care about human acceptance anymore. I don't care about any of that because I'm so accepted and so loved. I wake up in the morning and I ask him how he feels about me. He tells me. He makes me blush because he loves me that much. He told me last week, I'm always thinking about you. You're always on my mind. You know, stuff like that. Stuff that I did not believe in things that I wanted to feel. I feel through God.
Yeah, I definitely had a same relationship, but it took a while getting here.
Absolutely.
I knew who he was, and I grew up around in church, but church wasn't in me. And I literally had to go through a situation where I realized just how jealous he is, because I was idolizing my first husband, and he was like, no, we're not allowed to do that. So he removed me from, he picked me up and dropped me. And I had to flail around for a couple of months in order for me to realize that he had been there the whole time.
Absolutely.
And so
I remember
now,
asking him about my abuse and where was, you know, I had shouting matches, honey, screaming since I was much more worse than this. I had no voice for weeks. Where were you? Where were you when this was happening to me? Where were you? Where were you? And he started to let me see through his eyes, and he was right there. That's a hard pill to swallow. Because, you know, we want God to be, you know, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And he not. He not the Jolly Green Giant. There are some things about him. He is a storm creator. He is I love the word terrible and tremendous. You know, he is angry about me. But he also has holds to his word, which means he said, I gave y'all the will. And sometimes I got to sit back, pissed that y'all exercise y'all will in ways that hurt each other. Yeah, but I was right there. And so I became more intimate with him. And that has changed my whole life.
Now, were there any scriptures that helped you through? Because I know my favorite one is Psalms 118, chapter verse 6. The Lord is on my side, I will not fear what can man do unto me. Because in the situation I was in, I was so worried about what other people thought, what they were saying, how they would react. And so I never worried about what he was going to do, but what others would do. So that really helped me to get through and to get closer to him once I realized that he had been there the whole time. So were there any scriptures that helped you?
Absolutely. I relied on Psalm 34:18 daily. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. He saves the contrite, the bruised in spirit. Because I felt like not only was my heart broken, I felt like my spirit was bruised. I had taken too many hits, and there was no time for healing. And so once I began to understand that I have a spirit, and that he is a spirit, that there's a human spirit and then a God spirit, and that he wanted my spirit. He wanted my soul. He wanted my mind. He wanted my body. He wanted every bit of me, and that he was right there. And I always felt like in my healing, like I was at the hospital, like in my heart, I felt like I was at the hospital and I just couldn't breathe. Like it just hurt so bad. Everything just hurt so bad. And so when I read that scripture the first time, and I nobody like told me that scripture. I believe that he revealed it to me. I hadn't like read it, previously. But that scripture just really helped me see him in a different light and know that he was right there. Like every day, there were days where I would just lay on the floor in my son's room. When I left my husband, I had like $60 to my name. I was sleeping on the floor of my mother's apartment. My oldest son, was sleeping in the bed. My two other children were with their dad. My family was fractured. Everybody was hurt because I was not the one. I was the one that was going to save the family, with this brilliant career. And I graduated from law school and blah, blah, blah. I laid on that floor and thought I was going to die. For days, I just laid there and I would just listen to, I'm a music person, so I would listen to Erica Campbell has a song on her last CD, I think it's called Help. She has a song called All I Need Is You. And I would put that on repeat, and I would lay there for days. And I would just, when the Bible says that to wash yourself in the Word, I would just lay there and let Him wash me. And I feel like he was just putting me back together. He was taking out the dirty parts and the nasty parts, and He was giving me new parts. So creating me a clean heart, oh God, renewing right spirit in me. I needed all of those words to help me get stronger because I couldn't even open my eyes some days. I was depressed and I was tired. I was exhausted. And so it was that. It was also the love of my mother. My mother nursed me back to health. She prayed over me. She made me go to church. I had a church family who was concerned about my deliverance. They prayed over me. I took classes at church. They helped. I had connections at church, people who really, really helped me. So I went through the real major, extremely hard work for 2 years, and then everything else has been maintenance. Make sure my mind, because it's a mind thing, make sure that my mind stays aligned with the Word of God. So I make sure that I spend an hour in prayer and study every morning to start my day that way. Before I get on Instagram, before I start work, before everything, so that my day is set, that my face is set like flint. Because your day will bring you all kind of pressures of life, and your memory will remind you of where you were and the things that have happened. It is only through the blood of Jesus and through the Word of God, both through written and prophetic and inspired word that I get in prayer, that I can battle, or not even battle, that I can stand and win the battle. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that earlier in our conversation that you had spoken to your dad and how just now you said your mom helped to nurse you back to health. What is your relationship now with both of your parents?
My dad, I was on my way to church one day and God was poking me, prodding me. My heart, and I'm like, what is it? What pride? What do you and I didn't know. And so when times like that happen, I would just get completely still. I don't care what's on my calendar. So I parked my car. I had arrived at church. I parked my car and I just sat there. Well, when you ready to talk to right here? Because I needed to know what it was. And so I sat there and he was like, call your dad. And I'm like, what? What? Why would you? Why? And I know he knows best. And I trust him, so I'm like, all right. So call him and say, well, call him and say. And he started talking to me about the scriptures and reminded me that the scripture says to eat the whole roll, the bitter parts and the sweet. And I'm like, and then he said, you can't cherry pick. And I'm like, okay, I know you leave me somewhere. I'm going to wait, And he said, honor your mother and your father so that your days can be long. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I had to have you bogus, you ain't right. I had to have all of that. And I think he laughed, just like he did right now, because he knows me. He knew I was going to be obedient. And I said, okay, well, how do I honor my father? Because no matter what, my greatest dysfunction and hardest part of my abuse is that I've always felt conflict in my heart regarding my daddy. I was a daddy's girl with my boy. Yeah, and so I am born to love my parents. It's natural for us to love our parents. So the conflict of having to deal with the man who abused me and still love him. I always loved my daddy. Tore me up for years because everybody around you is telling you should hate him, right? That is, you should hate him. That he ain't right, And I'm like, I want to hate him, I think, but I love him. It's my daddy. And so I needed to settle that in my heart. And so God told me to honor him. And I said, okay, well, how do I honor him? Help me out. Start me on the path. And he told me to call him every 21 days. Check on my daddy every 21 days. Is he okay? Where he lives, he doesn't have family. There's, people he knows, but none of his children are there. So I started calling him every 21 days, and it started real staccato, Hey, funky attitude, but obedient, right? Right. Hey. And he wants me. My daddy wants to have a relationship with me. So he's like, he's just happy I'm calling. And it started there that, I'm asking him because he eats pork. So he got hypertension. Has a blood pressure. How much pork he eats, That's how I'm serious. That's how he started. That's how it started. And then it was like, okay, I just called to make sure you was alive. Is my name on all your beneficiary paperwork? And he's like, yeah,
Right.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
So it started there. And then it became much more relaxed where we're sports fans. So we'll talk about Alabama football, Roll Tide, or we'll talk about, things that he has going on in work. So I just keep very strong boundaries with him. My kids are, discuss my children, except how they're doing, they're fine. And that's it. We don't discuss my children. We don't discuss relationships. We don't discuss any kind of things regarding intimacy or sex or anything like that. Dating, I just keep a strong boundary. And he lets me guide it. It's completely up to me. However, our relationship is, my dad respects that it's up to me. When it comes to my mother, it takes work, because my mom didn't know for so long, right? So I didn't place responsibility at her feet. And she, because of that, didn't realize how I felt. So when it came out of me to place responsibility, it came out like a dam broke. So it was just, okay, you wrong, you broke, you crazy, I don't want to talk to you, that kind of thing. But then right after the water flooded, it settled. So it was a faster situation than my dad. Because I was mature at that point, right? Now I know how deliverance is, and I know how the enemy works. I know the tactics. At that point, I was more mature, so it was an easier process for me. Now, don't get me wrong. All people have some dysfunctions and something we disagree with, but that's just her being her. But when it came to my abuse, it was fine. Now, we did have a difficult time when my first book came out.
Okay.
Yeah, because she did not. Yeah, she didn't understand. It was new for her. Okay. And she did not, the feelings that I conveyed. So she didn't understand, or because it was so difficult for her to process, she did not process it as I'm writing in past tense. This is how I felt then. I don't feel that way now. So she was very, very awkward and uncomfortable with me and very, very hurt. And so it took a detailed process where I had to help my mother understand that it's okay. I forgive you. I love you. You're my mama. I only get one, and I'm all about the one relationships, one mama, one daddy. I'm my kid's only mother. I'm all about those relationships because those are very, very special. They can't be replaced. Once I die, my kids don't get another mama. So, they're my first priority, things like that. So when it comes to my mother, I'm always trying to pour love on her. So it's almost like the role reverse, right? Where the daughter is helping the mother. Yeah. But she is still my mama. When I got to place and I was feeling like somebody sent my mama an airline ticket. That's my mama.
Yeah, I read that on your phone.
Listen, I need to smell her and lay next to her to this food passes, So
right.
It's complex but not complicated. Not for me.
Yeah.
Because God is also my mother and my father. Right. So I'm okay with who she is, regardless of her dysfunction, because it's almost like she's a supplement to the mother and father that I found in God.
Yeah. Like the icing on he's the cake and they're the icing.
They're the icing. I say that all of the time. All my relationships are icing on the cake. He is my everything. I'm just blessed that y'all are in my life and y'all stick around. I say that all the time. It's just a blessing. It's like icing on the cake.
Yeah. And people always say, I said that once to people, I was like, if I had nobody else, he was enough. So we have us to cut ties with people because you don't respect my boundaries and you want to bring chaos into my life when I'm trying to live peacefully. I'm okay with you not being there. And people just could not understand it, especially with the saying of blood is thicker than water and all this. Yeah, well, God is my blood. So as long as I got him, I'm okay.
We got one set of blood. So we one set of blood. You can't be A, N, O, and B. I got one set.
Exactly.
You know, and no
Exactly.
blood is not thicker than water. Because people attribute that to family ties, and sometimes the family is the most dysfunctional people. But I look at it like this. Excuse me. I look at it like this. The only people that can really hurt you are people that's close to you. A stranger can't hurt you. They can't hurt your heart. You don't know them.
Yep.
The only people that can hurt you are those that's close to you. And so boundaries are important. And no matter who you are, I learned this from my mother. I just didn't know I learned it from her. And then it was strengthened when God allowed me to see it. No matter who you are, if you cross my boundaries, that's it. And it don't have to permanently be it. It depends on how it is, you know, how the situation is. But that does not happen to me. It's a no, swift, strong, and moving on.
And I learned that I didn't realize that was the biggest lesson my mother told me until like a couple of months ago. I'm like, my mother is the queen of boundaries. Now people might not like it, and we didn't understand it as kids, but I appreciate it now. Right, because you're just not gonna come into her atmosphere and change up stuff. Yeah. And she is okay with cutting ties. We can meet up. I can be cordial, but no, I can't have you around if we're not in the same mindset. So that is the biggest gift she was giving me, but I didn't realize it.
My mama would skip away from somebody in the hot second, like, oh no, that's that, you know, and that's her, you know, that's her walk. And she, once I got in a healthier space, I realized what I need to remain there. And I just can't go back, Sherri. I just can't go back. I can't go back to depression. I can't go back to dysfunction. I can't go back to a crazy marriage or, you know, partnerships in romantic partnerships. I can't go back to that. It's too much at stake. I will die. That's how I feel. I feel like I will die. And so I have to keep my boundaries strong. And then again, I see the fruits of it. You know, now I have a business launching April 1st. Books are being, you know, read. People are inviting me to do things like this. Just for God's glory, these things are happening because you go through your life for a reason. This happened to me for a reason. You know,
you stop right there, because that is my next question. See, God knows what he's doing. He had me write something down, and we're going to go right into that when we come back from commercial. So we're here on Underneath the Hat with our guest, Aisha Hurston, speaking about forgiveness. So we will be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Underneath the Hat with your host, author Sherri Simmons.
All right, here we are back with Underneath the Hat, an affiliate of VIGILANT Broadcasting and the Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. I am your host, Sherri Simmons, and we're here with our guest, Aisha Hurston, who is talking to us about her journey through forgiveness. If you're on Facebook, you can check us out on Talk Radio TV Network, LLC, or go to my page Underneath the Hat and click the link and tune in with us live. If you want to call in and discuss, if you've heard something that Aisha and I have said and you want to chime in or give your experience, you can call in at 319-527-2634. So Aisha, when we left off, it triggered one of the questions that I had. And I said on my paper that there's a purpose in all of our pain. So how do you feel that the pain you went through helped in shaping your purpose?
I believe this was probably 10 years ago. I'm a dreamer. I started having dreams about certain things. And then I started to hear women screaming at random times in the middle of the night. It would wake me up. It would be so close that I would run to the window, like I thought somebody was being murdered on my block, that kind of thing. And it reminded me of Samuel in the Bible when he said, "Go lay back down and ask God what He wants," because that's not nobody's being murdered outside today. That's God. And so I believe firmly that because of not just what I experienced, but because of my awareness that I came into, that there is a purpose in my pain, those two things combined, added to, I guess 3 things combined, added to God's purpose in my pain, have now strengthened me and alerted me that there is work to be done with women all over the place. And so I have submitted to doing that work. I have submitted to telling the truth and not the fluff story regarding childhood sexual abuse and domestic violence. I have submitted to giving God glory because I believe in my whole heart that He is the only way that I survived any of this. And He is the only way that I'm keeping in right mind, even ongoing. And so I give Him glory, and it is through the writing of books, speaking engagements, deliverance ministry, prayer, intercession, and all the things of the like, that I will do whatever He asks me to do to help these women that have experienced it. When I had my book signing for the first book, there's a lady there that was well into her 60s that told us, that said out loud for the first time she had been abused. It is for those women that I exist. When my mother had such a hard time with the book and I had to minister to her, it is for her that I exist. It is because God brought me through these things that my purpose was a light to my eyes, that women are hurting, and a lot of it is because of abuse.
Yes. So what advice would you give to someone that is struggling with forgiving someone?
Jesus plus therapy. I'm going to give it a t-shirt today. Y'all don't steal my t-shirt. Jesus plus therapy. I strongly believe in therapy. Of course, I believe in Jesus, but I believe therapy is good because it helps you voice to a trained professional what you're going through and work that out with someone who is trained. So I always will say Jesus plus therapy. I believe that you cannot, one of the things that I say, and I say it to my kids all the time, love God, love yourself, love others. You cannot be in any loving relationships if you do not love yourself. You cannot love yourself until you love God. So working your way backwards, you have to start to be selfish with your life so that you can be who you are supposed to be. So again, the boundaries I mentioned today. You have to be, because you will die unfulfilled, and that's not what God wants for us. And that's not what He wants for us. He don't want us to die and suffer and live lives where we're not skipping through lilies and flowers. He's talking about the Father of all things. Is your daddy. He don't want that for you. He wants you to prosper in every way. So once we start seeing Him as He really truly is, and not as we think He is, which is very common, we will walk into a level of freedom and forgiveness that we've never seen before, and then we will also protect it because you don't want anything to interrupt that and hinder that. Right. And it's so funny you say love yourself first, because I have a mentoring program called Young Ladies at All Times, and we started this week at these 2 schools. So I work with 6th and 7th grade girls, and then 4th and 5th. And part of our mantra that we say to each other is, you are important. Love yourself first. Yeah. Always try your best. Yep. So I'm like, and I told them, I used the example of an empty bottle. I said, if you are this bottle
can you keep giving to people if you're on empty? They were like, no. I said, you have to fill yourself up and do things that you like to do that give you purpose or satisfy you so you can help somebody else. I can't help somebody if I'm empty. And so I'm trying to instill that into them now.
Yeah, because, you have to. This is something that has to start when females are young. Because, and I hate to say just females, I'm called to women, but I minister to men because I have 3 of them. I don't know what God was doing, but I birthed 3 of them. And so I tell them the same thing. You can't give to anybody unless you're full. Because if you give to people when you're half full, that's why I love that bottle. First of all, you need something to pour into you. So what is pouring into you? To fill you up. And then you can only give when you're in overflow. That means you have to be filled and let it overflow out of you. But you have to be full, because if not, you will always be in deficit. And you can't give when you're in a deficit. You need things to survive. So I love that example. And it's scripture. The Bible says to love your neighbor as yourself. So that means that you have to love yourself first. And you cannot love yourself or be uncomfortable with your identity until you love God. You can't know yourself. That's like going to the store and asking cheese, how you become cheese. Well, cheese can't answer that. The creator of the cheese has to answer that.
Exactly.
So, that's those are things that I live by. And that's advice I would give anybody. Whatever you're doing that inhibits your growth in God and your loving of yourself, you got to stop it. Cold turkey. It's a drug and it's trying to kill you.
Exactly.
You got to stop it. And whether it be a relationship or anything else, stop it.
Well, I definitely want to thank you first for doing this, even though you're not doing your best. But I can even tell the change in your voice the more we started to talk.
God is my
yes, he is. So I want to thank you so much for coming on Underneath the Hat and sharing your story. But before you go, can you share with us any events or things that you have going on so people can reach out to you on your social media?
Sure. So my blog, I was on break from my blog, and I'm on break from my blog until the second week in April because I'm launching a business, which is very cumbersome. But you can follow me on Whole is Possible on Facebook. My name on Facebook, that's my blog page. I'm on there every Thursday at 7 p.m. talking about a myriad of topics. My personal Facebook is Aisha, AISHAN, Hurston, HURSTON. I'm also on Instagram under Aisha Speaks Truth, Aisha _speaks_truth. The thing that we have upcoming that's most prevalent is the blog is back in action. I'm also releasing the book, the 3rd book in the series of 4, which I'm excited about. You can find the books on wholeispossible.com. I know, I'm excited about it. Wholeispossible.com. Books 1 and 2 are already available. If you want a digital copy, you can find both print and digital on Amazon.com. Again, wholeispossible.com. You can keep up with me there. So any speakers, events, and things like that will be posted there. But that's really it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And we'll definitely be in touch.
Of course we will. Thank you. You keep on doing this work. You're an amazing woman. With an amazing
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. I'll speak soon.
All right. So that was our guest, Aisha Hurston. And remember, check out her book, Metamorphosis, and also Whole is Possible, her blog. I also have some things coming up within our last 2 minutes for those that would like to market any of their events through my radio show, Underneath the Hat. You can email me at underneaththehat@gmail.com, and you should see the flyer on the page now. You can go to my social media page, Underneath the Hat, and find out information because I'm having a Women's Madness marketing promo. So for $25 for the remaining month of March, every Saturday that's left this month, we will promote your business or activity. I also have a panel discussion on friendship coming up next Sunday, March 24th. Tickets are $10. I have a panel of 5 women sharing about friendship. You can find it at eventbrite.com. Again, everything is on my Facebook page, Underneath the Hat. My Instagram is also at Underneath the Hat. Check out my YouTube channel, Underneath the Hat web series, and my website, SherriSimmons.com. Our topic for next week will be mother-daughter relationships, and my guest will be Mrs. Claudia Parker, the author of Becoming a Mother While Losing My Own, and the owner of Claudia Parker Portraits and Productions. Again, this is Underneath the Hat, an affiliate of Vigilant Broadcasting and the Talk Radio and TV Network LLP. My name is Sherri Simmons, and remember to take care of yourself underneath the hat. See you next Saturday.
Thank you for tuning in to Underneath the Hats radio show. We will see you here again next Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time. Follow Sherri on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Underneath the Hat, and visit her website, SherriSimmons.com. Always remember to take care of yourself underneath the hat. See you next week.